Hello, thanks for logging in and joining us on Manor Hill Productions Live. Our topic today is very topical, staying healthy in an unhealthy world. We've all learned some hard lessons this year about protecting ourselves, protecting our homes, protecting our health. So did we learn enough? Are we a little smarter? Well, you can't know too much about health and wellness, so we're excited to welcome our guest today, Dr. Mary Warren, whose company, Road Warrior Wellness, specializes in traveling safely, traveling with confidence, feeling better, and living longer. She's been practicing wellness for 25 years, and for the last 20 years, she's been a functional nutritionalist and holistic chiropractor. She speaks to groups large and small on the topic of wellness, leads workshops, and is a self-proclaimed shuffleboard queen. And we might hear a little bit about that. Dr. Warren, thanks for being with us today. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Bill. It's great to be with you. Doing super. Thank you. It's always nice to be with people that want to learn a little bit more about health and wellness. So I'm jazzed to be here. And I got to put on pearls today, which is a total bonus.
Well, they look great.
Thank you.
Dr. Warren, what was the biggest health story of 2020? That's a joke question. We all know what it was. And it brought a lot of focus onto health, something we all took for granted. And, now we're being more careful, which is good. So I guess we want to talk today about how that might affect the way we live the rest of our lives and the way everyone's become a health expert all of a sudden. So hopefully that's all good information. So we want to talk about travel. That's your specialty. You want to kick things off, or you want me to start with a question?
Well, so there, in every situation, I believe, Bill, there's at least one silver lining. And I came back from a Disney property the first week of March. I had gotten in just under the wire for a national conference for women in aviation that I'm a member of. And I came back and I immediately kicked out a newsletter to my practice group and others saying that we have a whole lot more public hygiene on board right now. And I can absolutely tell you that hotels and airlines, airplanes, airports, everyone right now is cleaning things that have likely never been cleaned before, or maybe like quarterly were cleaned. Now they're being cleaned multiple times a day. So I will say from a travel perspective, once we get back out there and we're on the road again and wanting to be those healthy road warriors, I think you're going to find that a lot of people have heightened knowledge, not only heightened awareness, but heightened knowledge about how to take care of themselves better. So there will be a couple of things that I'm going to reiterate today that some of you are just going to be like, got that. Really, really good with that. And I always like to try to stay upbeat about health and wellness. I've said for years that no one likes finger wagging. We all know things we need to do, things we should be doing. But I try to focus on some of the things that are really easy. I have a mantra, and that is simple works. So I'm into simple, even though you might not necessarily know that by my carry-on bag because it's packed with all kinds of goodies. But some of those things that I pack are really to keep me not only healthy, but happier. And I think that's another thing, Bill, that we're really coming away from is this whole experience of like, what are the things I can do to be happier here? Because if we're healthy and happy, boy, oh boy, we've just covered a lot of real estate.
Well, yeah. I think what's maybe in the back of everyone's mind, my mind anyway, is, what if this thing blows through again or something else? So maybe I wasn't very healthy in the first place. What can I do to become more healthy? And those are the questions people I hope are asking and hopefully answering.
Right.
So, you mentioned traveling safely. And earlier you said, you're going to mention things that maybe we should already know. Well, there are things that we should have known, but we weren't doing. So please, say whatever you want to say. We'll listen.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bill. One of the first things I always like to focus on with people, and you'll hear this, you'll see this whenever you pull up anything for me, is water, water, water. I am a huge hydration fan, and I've got some props here today that I hope will make things a little bit easier and more fun for us. Everyone, find a bottle that works for you. As you can see, this bottle is a great shape for my size hand. It also has a small lid. so that if I'm not standing perfect or sitting perfectly still, I will not end up taking a shower, which is very important to me. There are a lot of water bottles that have really big mouths or spouts, and those just don't work for me because I'm rarely ever sitting or standing perfectly still. So water is really key to wellness. It's key to health. I often tell people that water is the fastest, cheapest, easiest way to feel better almost immediately. Our body is majority water. There are a lot of things that are helpful, and particularly when we're involved in business travel, because those of you who are obviously event planners and meeting planners on this call and on this webinar today, you know, once you step on that plane, you're going to be in basically a temperature and environmentally closed environment for a while. It may be a couple 3-hour plane ride, but then you're going to move on to a hotel, likely not be able to open those windows, possibly not even be able to get outside very much in terms of the venue. Hopefully you can, but water is going to really save the day on this, because I often remind people of things that are super basic biology pieces relative to our lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is a beautiful dance partner with the immune system. And there are 4 things that pump the lymphatic system. And that is movement, drinking water, sweating, and breathing deeply. And even if you can't move, you can still breathe deeply. You can still remind yourself to breathe. So those 4 components, those 4 elements, Bill, will pump the lymphatic system, which does not have its own pump like circulating blood has the heart, which will pump that. So water is our best friend for all of that. And again, for all of us that travel for business, water, water, water. Carry your own water bottle with you. Get it refilled when you stop at Starbucks for a hot tea. Notice I didn't say coffee. And even on the airplanes, I always encourage people to ask for 2 cups of water with no ice. The water is already going to be cold. It'll be refrigerated anyway. So ask the airline attendant for 2 cups of water with no ice. They never, ever, ever hesitate to give me 2 cups of water. And then I have my own water bottle pushed aside there. So water is always the biggest thing. And then try to eat as clean as possible. I'm a big fan of Dr. Barry Sears' Zone diet. Why? Because it's balanced. He likes the idea of 40% complex carbohydrates, 30% proteins, and 30% good healthy fats. And if you will just think of good healthy fats as my overarching acronym is BACON, which is a fun one, which stands for butter, avocados, coconut oil, olive oil, and nuts, predominantly raw. And I want you folks to really think about packing your own snack bags, you know, Ziploc snack bags with nuts to take with you when you're traveling, so that you've got good, healthy snacks for you, because you're going to be taking care of your participants and your attendees at all of your events. I know this. We talk about it, we know this. It's how you're wired, and it's what you do professionally. I want to really focus on you taking care of you today. So set yourself up with a couple, 3 little snack bags of mixes of raw nuts. You can throw some things in there, like maybe a little bit of crystallized dried ginger or cranberries or raisins or whatever. Remember that dried fruit is going to be high in sugar, but those are good healthy snacks for you. And you can also actually eat out of a little snack bag, like out of the corner, without using your hands to dip into it. So it's kind of a handy little way to do, because now we have a whole lot more knowledge and information on health relative to our hands and washing our hands. So we definitely want to keep our diet as clean as possible. Those complex carbohydrates that I mentioned as I started out here a minute ago, those are going to be predominantly vegetables and then whole grains. You want to skip and minimize the simple carbohydrates, the white things like pasta and white rice and white potatoes, and really try to go more for sweet potatoes and brown rice and things like that, okay? The other thing is, and this is tough, I mean, all of this is tough when we're traveling for sure, but we really want to get good sleep when we're traveling. Really try to get 7-8 hours. Sleep is so good for the immune system. It really helps us to reset. And I'd like to remind people, which actually a lot of people may not know, that we produce more human growth hormone, which we produce ourselves on our own. We produce more of that before midnight than in any other time of the night while we're sleeping. So that human growth hormone, as a lot of us know, it refreshes our body and it helps us rebuild and it helps like our skin reboot. So as much time as we can get on board before midnight, super ideal. And then last, my 4 legs, my foundational 4, last point is exercise or movement. And I know it is really hard to get exercise in when we're on the road. I will tell you one of my favorite tricks. A lot of venues will have a water bottle, a big water bottle in the hotel gymnasium where you can refill your water as well as get yourself on the treadmill. Hopefully even elliptical machine for a little bit of a workout. And even if it's just, get yourself, set a mat down with a couple of towels and do some stretching, okay? So hopefully that'll give you some better ideas of things to do when you're on the road trying to stay healthier.
Okay, good. Well, we were talking earlier about just general preparedness, and you mentioned the immune system, and then you just mentioned fitness. For people who do want to fix their immune system or make it better, how much does this is sort of goes without saying, but people don't think about it. Being overweight, how does that affect your immune system?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, that's a really good question, Bill, because unfortunately, so overweight is anything that's above, so we've got the whole BMI, measurements, right? And BMI, we're in a good healthy weight range for our height and our ideal weight. And these are general measurements. When we're like 20 to 24 or 25%, we get into the overweight portion when we're like 25 to 29%. And then once we get to 30% and higher of our BMI, that's when we are obese. So when you're overweight and or obese, you set yourself up for a greater number of degenerative diseases and degenerative conditions. And degenerative conditions are always going to precede degenerative diseases. So you want to avoid those, because the immune system, again, always takes it on the chin when we're traveling, because we're enclosed in spaces and we tend to not eat that well and stay dehydrated. We don't sleep as well and we don't exercise as much, right? So the immune system definitely needs help. And for those of you that don't take a probiotic, that's a good thing to have. Even if you only take it when you travel, a probiotic is a good thing to have. If I'm someplace where I can get to a store, a grocery store, and have like a little fridge in my hotel room, I'll get some of those kombucha drinks. And they're drinks that are made with a kombucha. It's a type of healthy probiotic fungus, and they're carbonated and they're a little sweet and they're actually kind of like a treat. And sometimes I'll have those instead of dessert. Always trying to minimize the sugar. And that's another great thing to do for immune health, is minimize sugar. And that's going to help bring your weight down as well. I mentioned a few minutes ago when I was talking about, the Barry Sears zone diet, trying to skip or alleviate the simple carbohydrates, the white rice, white pasta, and white potatoes. Those are things that just go right on board. And for we women, we are equal opportunity weight gainers. We will gain weight throughout our body. Men, you guys tend to have weight gain typically around the belly. So if you want to really cut some weight, get rid of those simple carbohydrates, and it helps everything. It'll help your weight. So it'll help bring that down. It'll help your immune system, and it'll definitely help you shift more towards complex carbs, which is a better form of fuel.
Okay, good. Well, we're talking about our immune system, and something that has become a big part of all of our lives this past year has been hand sanitizer. I have some right here.
Yeah.
What is it? How much truth is it that I keep hearing? Everyone keeps using all this sanitizing gel, we're gonna make our immune systems not work anymore. Is that
Is that
Well,
true, or is there
I
some
don't think
truth
it,
to that?
yeah, I don't think it goes quite that far, but anything and everything, life is really about a balance, right? So if you get really heavy, heavy, heavy in hand sanitizers, and a lot of commercial hand sanitizers, they use alcohol, Bill, of course, as their main component, because alcohol is massively antimicrobial and it'll knock down almost everything. So it's a great thing from a public health standpoint. From a personal health standpoint, I think it's good to use hand sanitizers. And if you could have your own, it's really awesome. And I know that we had talked about this earlier, but there are a couple of brands that I like, and these are little guys, so they might go easily into your tote bag or your carry-on roll-on or purse or shoulder bag. So EO is a company that makes, this is a French lavender scent, and lavender is actually antimicrobial. Many of you may know that already. This is Dr. Bronner's, and that's also a lavender. And this one's neat because it's a spray. This is a gel and it has no alcohol. And this one is a spray. So it's super quick, super easy to use. And it just like zip right into the hands. Yeah, I have some worries, I guess, a bit about all the alcohol disrupting the natural mantle and the natural balance of the skin. So because alcohol is drying, and we do need some microbes on our skin. They're there to naturally help and protect us. So I think moving to things like what I just showed you, and there are other options out there as well, for sure, but those are just a couple things that I like to have and keep on board.
good?
So
Okay.
hopefully that'll give you some good ideas for hand sanitizer.
Okay, good. So I'm just okay. I wonder if mine has 70% ethyl alcohol.
Yeah, that's pretty common.
All right.
Mm-hmm. And again, hey, there's a time and place for everything. If I've walked over to the bank and I'm going to stop back by one of the little stores in my neighborhood to pick up some things, and they've got hand sanitizer out in front of them, I'm happy to use it before I go into the store, right? There's a time and place for everything. And for a lot of you meeting and event planners, I think we're going to find now that a lot of the hotels and a lot of the big venues are going to be having hand sanitizing stations stationed throughout the venues. And I think that's a great idea. And these are going to be that 70% alcohol, to be sure. That's perfectly okay. We want that in a public situation like that. A couple of things you might think about as well for your events and your meeting planning in terms of like stations are, have water stations. This Disney hotel that I was at back in early March, it had water stations everywhere. So if I were an event or meeting planner, I would have right near the water stations, I would also have hand sanitizer, and I bet they do now, as well as maybe like Kleenex, and a garbage can, a little, trash can for throwing Kleenex away, because it's just, this happened for us, for probably many Americans at least those of us in the lower tier of the United States. This happened at allergy time, and there are a lot of us that are running around like, itching our nose, and typically we're using our hands to itch our nose or a Kleenex. So it does this whole double duty on needing to hand sanitize. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So so having those kinds of things stationed for your public events and your public venues might be really helpful in the future as well.
Okay, good. And I was going to talk to you a little later about how what we've just gone through might affect the meeting industry, but let's get to the meeting first. And to do that, we've got to get on that scary, gross thing called an airplane. So, what's your best advice on, now that we're traveling again, nervously, making ourselves, as you say, you like to talk about traveling with confidence and feeling confident about being safe. So, how can we be safer on the airplane?
So conceptually, I'm just going to encourage all of you, first of all, to trust your onboard equipment, okay? Our immune systems are really designed to take a lot of abuse. Getting on an airplane now in April, May, June, I'm telling you folks, airplanes are going to be cleaner than they've ever been. So this is actually a really good time to be getting on planes, because They have been going through these planes, and I am really jazzed about how clean they're going to be. So trust your onboard equipment, your immune system, and trust that the airlines that you're flying on have been doing their work. Because again, I think from a public health perspective, I think there's going to be a lot more rigorous cleaning that goes on, not only on airplanes, but in hotels, public spaces. I mean, we've all seen the New York subway, you know, folks cleaning the insides of the subways, and a lot of us are like, woohoo, this is awesome. Right. So yeah, I think trust those things. There are a couple of things that I like to have with me. So, and you and I talked about this earlier, Bill, so I'm going to just obviously repeat a little bit of what we talked about. So there are a couple of things that happened. So years ago when I sat down on an airplane, and I like window seats, so I sat down on the window seat. The lady who sat down next to me in the aisle seat proceeded to wipe down everything around her that was not leather or fabric. And I thought to myself, why am I not wiping down everything around me that's not leather or fabric? And 2 days later, I was sick as a dog. So now I will only travel with wipes. Again, I'm into things that are a little bit healthier, but there are tons of wipes out there. I don't care what you take, but take a little package of wipes with you. These are clean well, and they use oregano oil, which is really nice. And oregano oil is super antimicrobial. So now I wipe down everything, Bill, when I sit down around me that's not leather, and even if it is a leather headrest behind me, I wipe that down as well. So, and again, I'm a window seat kind of girl, so I'm going to wipe down the whole piece around the window. I've seen the airlines, they've got their crews cleaning all these buttons and knobs up at the top for our air vents and our lights and the call button. I give that a clean wipe. I wipe off the buckle. I wipe off the little knob, the little button, depressor button, rather that lets me push back in my seat. And I absolutely positively, while this thing is super wet, I give that tray back table a good clean all the way around, top, bottom, edges, as well as the little twist, you know, securing piece that keeps it in place. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's a lot we can do. And I will be totally frank with you. Since I've started using wipes, I have not been sick. I have not been sick once. And I fly a fair bit. So not like a lot of you event planners for sure, but I really think this is a great way to go. A couple of other tricks for you. There are these really cool little things called inhalers. And these are, folks, these are essential oil inhalers. And this is what the packaging looks like. This is from a really old company out of Switzerland called Olbas. And Olbas, a lot of European companies make things without much in the way of like preservatives and artificial ingredients and fragrances. And so I like that. This is a classic aromatherapy blend. And this is the size, obviously, of a lipstick or like, you know, lip stuff. And so what happens is you just screw this top off, and then you plug up one nostril and you inhale with your other nostril. And this is awesome. It just smells nice and fresh and clean. And then do the other side. Even as I do that now, it's like, oh my goodness, this is so nice. This is really great for upper respiratory, okay? Upper respiratory meaning like, you know, throat, adenoids, if you have those still, sinuses, this whole upper respiratory. This is lower respiratory. So lower respiratory is once we drop down into the lungs. Another thing.
Tell me again what that was called.
Oh, it's called, yeah, it's called Olbas Inhaler. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I like from them is these are cough drops. And again, they're nice and clean in terms of not having a lot of added stuff, and they don't have sugar. Sugar is a really big bad one for the immune system. Sugar will create inflammation, and it'll definitely get your white blood cells hopping. It is not good for the immune system. These come in little blister packs, and I always take these out of the box and throw these into a Ziploc sandwich sized bag because they can kind of pop out of here easily because they're nice and thick. So those are Olbas products. Love this. Just love this little inhaler. It's so much fun. And then I already showed you my wipes. I've shown you my hand sanitizers. So can I show you a couple of other things while I'm in prop mode?
Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. So
you'll be the carrot top of the medical world. Carrot top of the comedian. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. So a couple of other things that are really nice and easy to travel with. And there's a brand of plastic things, and some of you probably already know these already. This is a company called Nalgene. And Nalgene has been around forever. They were the very first ones to make, in fact, no, this is Camelback. This bottle that I use is Camelback. But Nalgene were the first company that ever produced these nice bulletproof hard plastic bottles for us. They make these cool little travel size things, and you can find these like at REI, Whole Earth Provision. Those are a couple of stores we've got locally, and REI's national Container Store carries these as well. They're a little more expensive, but I'm telling you, your grandchildren are going to end up with these. They are like so durable. These are really nice to put olive oil in, and I would even put olive oil is antimicrobial. A lot of people don't realize olive oil is antimicrobial. So if you're feeling like your eyes are really kind of irritating, you can put some olive oil around your eyes before bedtime when you're not going to be looking through oil. Darn that Mary Warren, why did she tell us that? The other thing is coconut oil really works well in this, and these are super lockdown tops, and they have this little riveting around them. That's how you know they're Nalgene brand. So this size is really good to put some coconut oil in. And a lot of people don't realize, Bill, that coconut oil is antiviral. There's a constituent or a component in coconut oil that's called monolaurin, and monolaurin is very antiviral. So if you tend towards fever blisters, which is herpes type 1 around the lips or the nose or face, coconut oil is great for that. Plus, it's just really good to have sort of in general when you're traveling. It's good to have a little bit of coconut oil. You could even use some of this like at bedtime when you around your lips to keep yourself moist. So that's a nice idea for that. We talked about olive oil. That's antimicrobial. Olive oil is also a really good one for you folks for like your dogs and cats, or if you have horses and they've got ear issues. Not so much horses, but dogs and cats, you know how they are always, once you do something with their ears and they're always doing this, and then they've always got their paws in their mouth. And olive oil, super gentle, and it's very gently antimicrobial. So that's a good couple of good things to do. And while we're on the topic, because I think this is almost my last prop, and companies that I like and things that I like, oh my goodness, this is one of the best. This is also a European company called Weleda. W-E-L-E-D-A, Weleda. And this is their evening primrose oil. And so you can see it comes in a little, so this would be a good thing to put into one of your little Nalgene containers, their evening primrose oil. Ladies, I am telling you, oh my goodness, they make a phenomenal product line with evening primrose oil. I have all of it. I've got the shower, there's like a shower gel, there's body lotion, there's a night cream, and men, I shouldn't discriminate here. There's a night cream and also an eye and lip cream. It's all evening primrose oil. And people don't necessarily know that evening primrose oil really promotes progesterone synthesis and progesterone metabolism. And progesterone is what's really good for our skin. And a lot of us do know that. So evening primrose really promotes progesterone. So that's a great thing to have, especially for all of us that travel and want to look our best. And we find when we're in those dry environments that our skin looks dry. And I don't know about the rest of you, but the first night that I don't get enough sleep, my skin gets drier than normal. So the evening primrose is nice for that. So yeah.
Okay, great. Hey, those were all, I didn't know about coconut oil and olive oil. Well, I didn't know about anything you've been telling me. Well, do you have any tips for the other gross place for when we travel, the hotel room? I think people are being more aware these days of how disgusting people are.
Yes. Okay, so first of all, this is another thing I want all of us to know, that going into this time after COVID-19, we are going to have hotels and the cleaning people are absolutely positively like working on a new level. First of all, I never drink out of the glasses in hotel rooms, because the cleaning staff is really going to clean those with what they have on their cart, and most of you know that. So avoid the glass drinking vessels. And most hotel rooms will have paper or cardboard cups for the little Keurig machine or whatever they have there in the machine in the room. So I would stick to using the paper, because that has a better level of sanitation around it, because it comes individually packaged, right?
Mhm.
The other thing is that remote. I saw an interview the other day on one of my favorite news shows with the CEO, who's a lady, and I think it's Insea is the name of the company that makes all of the in-room television remotes, and how like all of that streaming basically the properties information and the various channels. And they are going to technology that will allow us to be able to use our phones, our mobile devices, for the in-room televisions. So that is a really big deal, and it's a really good thing, because if we can avoid touching those remotes in the hotel room, so much lives on those, as well as the phones. We want to avoid that. And that's again where your little wipes are going to come in handy, because when you go into a hotel room, you can just take 1 minute, something like this. These wipes are super wet, so you can just go through a bunch of things, do the remote, do the doorknobs, do the toilet flush handle, do things that you think, okay, we just want to make sure these are clean. Do the phone if you're going to use the phone, and do your own phone. I mean, not after you've done all that, but even on the airplane, I typically will use my wipe to, wipe down my phone. And I think for a lot of us at home these days, Bill, we're wiping down our phones and our home remotes a whole lot more than we used to, because they get handled so often, right?
Yeah, I've been doing that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, good. Well, that's all very good. So we sent an email out earlier and asked people for questions, and we tried to find the ones that got asked the most. And I think you may have already answered one of them. This was a very common question, especially for our audience. As a meeting planner, what are some of the things we can promote prior to our event to reassure our attendees that they're coming to a safe and clean meeting? I think attendees are probably going to be thinking about that.
Right. Well, for many of you, even if you just do, like a 30-second video to tell people, the event planner, or excuse me, the event venue, we've got, stations set up for hand sanitizing and that sort of thing. Because I mean, we're going to be, shoulder to shoulder again with attendees as we're sitting in conferences and conventions, for sure. I think it's really good for people to get up and go outside on breaks. And weather permitting, I mean, that's really an ideal thing to promote and prompt your attendees to do when they're on break, is like, go wander outside for a few minutes, check your voicemail outside, stop by one of the water stations and get a cup of water and walk outside, get some fresh air. Again, I think that's a really good way to go. This particular Disney resort that I was at back in early March, like a lot of Disney properties, I think are probably designed so that you're walking. So there was a lot of walking between my room and the convention space on a daily basis. And it was awesome. I really loved that. I was thrilled that we were there in that particular resort hotel. So I think as much as people can get out, and if you will prompt them, and again, depending upon the time of year, the event, the venue, and I know it adds a lot to your already super full schedule, but if you can even do like some ad hoc things where you can get people outside and do like a type of event or a get together, or maybe it's some sort of, networking thing, or even something where people, some sort of class or course or whatever it might be, to do it outside. I think that's a really great thing to do. And I live in Dallas, where it gets super hot in the summer, but I'm telling you, I think most hotels are really cold, and it's nice to get outside for a few minutes. So those might be things to think about to really promote your event and promote the property where your attendees will be staying. And also, you might even collaboratively speak with your contact at the properties, and do a quick interview and have them tell you and your attendees in a short video how they're really looking out for everyone's well-being. That promotes the property owners. It lets all of us know with confidence that they're really thinking about people's well-being.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's
And it makes you look like the superstar that you are.
well, that's true. And plus, it just kind of lets them know that you're aware of the fact that they need to be providing a clean
Absolutely.
place. So they go, okay,
Absolutely.
someone's making good decisions. A lot of the questions we got had to do with air travel. Again, that seems to be the ground zero of what everyone's, where a lot of it happens. So a lot of people wanted to know, is it really true that while an airplane and all the contained air seems like a dangerous thing, that the air circulation in planes is actually better than you think? Is that true? Because I've heard that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I probably know too much about that, so I'm not going to say that I think it's better than we think. It's okay. The pilots get the lion's share of good air on an airplane, as they should.
That's okay with me.
As they should. We in cabin, back behind the pilots, the front of the plane, we get, recirculating air. And I suspect now with all the cleaning that has really ramped up a level, Bill, I suspect that a lot of the methodology for bringing air into the cabins, I suspect those structures, those filtration components have been cleaned because this has been a viral situation, which can be in the linings and in the surfaces of things. So my suspicion is, as much as airlines and the aviation industry want us back on their planes and want us traveling and buying tickets and going places and working and playing and recreating, I suspect that they are going to be doing a lot better job cleaning how the air comes through. And I think if I were a betting woman, which I'm not, I would imagine that there's probably going to be a more regular basis for cleaning all of that than there previously was before COVID-19. So I want people to go back into business travel with a new sense of confidence, because all of the people that support all of us when we're traveling, they want us to come back out again. They want us to be with them. They want to fly us around the world. They want to tuck us in their beds at night. They want your attendees to be in their conference spaces. So, know that they're doing everything they can to make those spaces and places as clean and as healthy as possible.
Okay. And, like you said, just use common sense, use good judgment, and
That's right.
travel with confidence and enjoy the life. We're here to enjoy ourselves. We're not here to walk around being paranoid, but we do want to be smart.
That's right. And have confidence. Yeah. And have confidence in your own board equipment, right? Your own immune system, your lymphatic system. We've talked about a little bit of that today. Really try to minimize sweets and treats when you travel. It just absolutely, bashes the immune system on the chin. So try to be good to yourself and make, healthier choices when you're traveling. And that way you're going to keep your immune system stronger. A couple of things super quick. I have one more prop.
Okay.
Is it okay? Okay, good.
Please.
All right, so this is a yoga strap. Thank you. This is a yoga strap. And these are super, these weigh, I don't know, like maybe 2 ounces. So they're really easy to travel with. And what you can do with these is you can actually use these with your arms like this, right?
Okay.
And then you can grab this little guy so it's not swinging around. And then you can, in your and again, meeting and event planners, I'm talking to you. I want you to take care of yourselves, right? So you can have this in your hotel room, or you're doing this side to side moving around like this. Why am I doing this? Because this pumps the lymphatic system. Anytime we get our arms up over our shoulders, we're really moving our lymphatic system. Even if you can't do this, and this is really nice and supportive, even if you do this. And I'm going to tell you a little neurological, because I am a chiropractor. I'm going to give you a little something to think about. You see how I'm moving my arms side to side? This is called the coronal plane. The coronal plane is this plane right here, right? And everything we do and anything we do in this coronal plane stimulates 33% more of our neurology. So for your attendees and participants, I'm just going to leave you with one little final tip. One of the things you could do, during a break or during have people stand up is just move their arms, give themselves some space so they're not hitting their neighbors, and move their arms, or doing like, the top portion of a jumping jack. And these are great ways to get your neurology like snapped up again when you've been sitting for a while. It's also great for the lymphatic system, so it's a bonus.
I have never heard that. So great. I've never heard most of what you, so I've learned a lot today. This has been great. Thank you very much. And I hope you learned something, and thanks for joining us today. And Dr. Mary Warren is not only a very smart woman, she's also available as a presenter, a speaker. Go to her website at roadwarriorwellness.com, and that's the three words roadwarriorwellness.com, and there's a dash between each word, road-warrior-wellness.com, or email her at drmary@roadwarriorwellness.com. And go to the website and check out all that she's got to offer. She's got a lot of great information, and we really appreciate your joining us today, giving us some things to apply to our lives, to learn and lead a healthier life, we hope, and be ready when it happens again.
Yes, be ready to get back out there. It's been my pleasure, Bill. Nice to be with all of you.
Thanks, Dr. Warren. And we'll see you the next time. Thank you. Bye.